Welcome to another inspiring episode of the Elite Expert Insider Podcast. Hosts Melanie Johnson and Jenn Foster are the owners of Elite Online Publishing. They're both Wall Street Journal, USA Today best-selling authors. We're really glad you're here because this podcast was designed for you. Meet industry experts that share their secrets and strategies. Get successful results for your business in money, relationships, health, and your life. Each episode is going to inspire you to take action towards reaching your greatness.
Hey, you guys, it's Melanie Johnson. Hey, Jenn, how are you doing?
It's a wonderful day today. I'm so excited about today's podcast.
Hey, filled with gratitude today. As always, we are. We have another fabulous guest, and we are going to talk about how to manifest your life's dreams and desires. Now, we've talked about this before, but this is different. It's really how to tap into that and be specific of how to do that. We're going to learn great strategies on that today. And if you think it's all like woo-woo, it's not. This stuff really works. You know, if you set your dreams and your desires of life, you can make it happen when you focus on it. So we have Wendy Gerhardt with us today, and she's going to tell us exactly how to do that. Hey, Wendy, thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Tell us, Wendy, a little bit about yourself and how you got started into this journey of manifestation and your business.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So this is a very interesting story. So I have been all over the map. I started out actually a very, very creative child. Lots of writing, I would spend hours. I mean, literally half a day, if not a whole day, just daydreaming. And that was like my escape. And then I would write novels and do all this other creative stuff. But like a lot of kids, at least in my generation, you were fed a lot of information that sounds like, yeah, that's great, but you can't make money doing that. Yeah, that's a fun thing to do on the side, but let's talk about college. And so from a very young age, I immediately started identifying with this idea that like, I couldn't actually be creative, that I needed to check off all the boxes that my parents had laid out for me. And so I did that. I went to college. I actually now have multiple degrees, but I went to college and the first job that I went into was actually finance. And I had these like elaborate dreams, like a lot of people in college, right? You're going to graduate. It's going to be amazing. You're going to make tons of money. You're going to like in finance. I was like, I'm going to work on Wall Street. It's going to be incredible. And then I graduated and I was like, this sucks. Like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And I think that's about the time when my sort of inner rebellious kind of personality came out, in the sense that I wasn't going to fall in line. I wasn't going to be one of those people that's like, all right, well, this is life. All right, well, I guess this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to suck it up. And every day is just going to be what it's going to be. And I'm just going to march along like everyone else. I started having this, and even from a young age, I had this pull, like soul on fire. I'm meant to do something. I don't know what it is. And so I wasn't going to settle. And so as opposed to what a lot of people do, which is not that uncommon these days, but I feel like it was a little bit less uncommon when I was in my 20s, was not only job hopping, I was career hopping. I was like, okay, so I've been in finance, I've been in sales, I've been in mortgages, I've been in, like you name all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I've done that. And I ended up going back to school. I ended up getting into medicine, again, thinking every single time, okay, this is going to be it. This is going to make me happy. This is going to be my purpose. This is so exciting. And then you do it and you're like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And along the way, of course, lots of depression, lots of anxiety, eating disorders, alcohol, like the whole gamut. I was getting really wrapped up and I'm searching for something outside of me that's going to fix everything. I'm searching for a place to live that's going to make it better, a job that's going to be like magical. About a year or 2 years into working in anesthesia, one of my colleagues actually introduced me into network marketing. Now, I was kind of short-lived, my time in network marketing. It wasn't really what I wanted to do, but it was the introduction I needed into this whole concept of, all right, Wendy, if there's not a box out there that exists that you want to like build your life around, then why don't you just create it? Why don't you make your own box? And so it opened up my eyes to this whole other existence, this whole other opportunity to make money that can look any way I wanted it to look.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started down that path. Now, here's the interesting part. I was not spiritual at all at this point. And I remember I actually started with an online marketing company. And after doing the network marketing, and I hated it because what people don't tell you is when you start getting traction, when you start scaling, if you're not actually doing what you desire and you're just still going after the mighty dollar, it feels like you exchanged one job for another and a harder job, a job that like you're really blood, sweat, and tearing through.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was still working in anesthesia and I was building a 6-figure marketing company. And what my coach at the time said was, Wendy, if you want to be really amazing, you want to like come out like nobody's ever seen before, you got to let go of everything else in your life and you focus on this one thing. So even though I was working in anesthesia, my heart wasn't in it. My husband was taking care of our kids 24/7. My health, forget it. And so what happens to everyone when they just say, oh, I'm just going to focus on this one thing and I'm going to let everything else go? There's no balance. Well, my health started to go. And so I dealt with multiple, like in and out of the hospital, having adult onset asthma, like crazy things where people were like, I don't know what the heck is going on here. You were a healthy person before and now you're a mess.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, it was January 2018. I woke up with right-sided weakness and I went into the hospital, code stroke. I came out with right-sided weakness. And at that moment, right, it's like what most people look for or what most people have to happen, which is not true. I want people to understand you don't have to hit rock bottom, but I did. And it was, holy crap. Okay, my business is hard. Don't love it. It's hard. The job I don't love. My health is terrible. I now cannot work in anesthesia. Now what? And I had that sort of awakening that was like, okay, I can't do any of this anymore. This career hopping, this moving, all the stuff, it's got to stop. I have 2 little kids. Now I need to focus on, Wendy, just be happy. What the heck does that look like? Just be happy. And so book after book, course after course, I was just consuming, and it led me, I think, obviously divinely down this rabbit hole into spirituality. And within 6 months of doing a lot of meditation, really diving deep into this information, I had regained all of my strength on my right side. I actually didn't feel that void anymore. That void that was like, Wendy, come on, there's something you're supposed to be doing. I was like, oh, I'm good. I'm okay. I had no more anxiety. I was off antidepressants. It became like, holy crap. I had spent this massive part of my life thinking my glass was like, there was no water, not even half empty. There was no water, to realizing how on purpose it was.
Wow. And it takes such a journey like that. Like you said, like some people don't have to hit the rock bottom, but that journey you went through to really come to the fact of, you're not happy and what can I do about it? Right.
Yes. That realization.
Yeah. And then that meditation point of it, the spirituality, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm not a spiritual person, or that's foo-foo, like meditation. No, that's like prayer. I don't pray or whatever, but it's not that. And when you actually learn what it really is, that mindfulness and really knowing yourself. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, how do you, like, you can study and read all the books and stuff, but how do you actually tap into, that mindfulness for yourself and to get that happiness? How do you do that?
Yeah. And to kind of just tag on what you just said, I come from a science background, right? Like I work in medicine. And so you want to talk about somebody who was like, oh, no, woo-woo stuff. No. So if it can impact me, it can impact you. And not to mention, if you are a science-based person, the amount of research and peer-reviewed articles that exist on the benefit of meditation is next level. So if you want to go, this is not spiritual and this is scientific, you can go that route too. But for me, what the biggest thing is I want people to understand is meditation is a practice. Like nobody went out there and age 5, the first time they kicked a soccer ball was like, sign me up for the US team. I'm going to go play in the World Cup. Right? It didn't happen. You have to practice. And so the biggest thing I hear from people is I can't do it right. I can't clear my mind. I get bored in like 2 seconds. I tried, it's not for me. And if meditation, sitting still, first of all, there's multiple different kinds of meditation you can do. All right. So you don't have to stick to this one where it's like, I have to clear my mind. You can start with a mantra. Okay. They have this transcendental meditation where you just repeat a mantra. If you don't like to sit still, go on a walking meditation. All you're going to do is walk, not talk. Pay attention. What do I hear? What am I feeling? What is going on around me? What are the sounds? Am I smelling anything? This is sort of combining, right, mindfulness with meditation when you're doing that walk. But at the end of the day, it is not the technique that is what is meditation. It is the result. So I want you to focus on what is this doing for me, even if it's 2 minutes. Start with 2 minutes, start a stopwatch, and just breathe. Focus on your breathing, do nothing else. And then build your way up. And for me, it started very small, just like that. 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Before I knew it, I would have to set a timer so that I wouldn't go over 2 hours.
So you get the relaxation, and I understand like letting your mind go and be in tune with yourself. And then how does that, so you're not focusing really on what you want, you're really centering yourself. But then how does that turn into manifesting what you want? How do you decide, first of all, how do you decide exactly what you want? Because sometimes we don't know, we're kind of all over the place, and we just let one day turn into the next day. And I've even asked myself sometimes, well, what do I really want? What exactly is that? What does that look like? So how do we get to that phase of manifesting and deciding what we want?
Well, it's obviously one of these things that nobody can decide for you, and you have to get very intentional. So being present in your life. So many people are living for, when this happens, when I achieve this, when I get there, then I'll focus on. But right now I'm just grinding it out. Well, the only way you get to there is by focusing on now. And now is what's going to help you get to there. So really allowing yourself to get present in my current life, in my current now, my day right now, because the future is this elusive thing that never comes. And the past is done. So what do we want right now? And the biggest thing I see people getting hung up on is the difference between desire and need. And need for most people, especially in the US, is more than met. There are definitely people that are hungry. There are definitely people that have other concerns, but a lot of people, those needs are met. And so what happens is you get caught in the, I want this, right? Like I want this house. I want this car. I want this job. But really subconsciously, you're saying, I need this car to prove my worth. I need this house because then everyone's going to see I'm successful. Do you truly desire it for you? Not for how it's going to make you look, not for how it's going to change your relationships, not so you can prove to others your worth or that you're not a failure. What do you truly desire? And there is a big difference. You have to really learn. This is the process. You have to really learn how to discern between the two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really easy too, because you're like, oh, this is what I want. And then if you really dive into it, you're like, is it really what I want? Or is it something that my mom wanted me to have? Or is it something that my husband or spouse or partner wanted me to have? Or is it something that I think my best friend will like? So if I get it, then she'll like me more, or whatever. Like you have to really go deep and just kind of asking those questions. If this is really what you want, then, you know, what will that get you? You know, I mean, like you get the car, then what? You know, what does that get you if you have the car? And coming up with those answers.
Yes. And then so bringing in a little bit of human design. I know that a lot of people say manifestation is, you got to be super, super specific. There's actually two different types of manifestors. There's one group based off your human design that is specific, and you're going to want to like really dig in. What do I want? Like if it's a certain car, the color, all the typical things that you hear. But there are non-specific manifestors who are really not going to focus on the car. They're going to focus on the feeling they're trying to attract into their life and having a general idea. Now, you need to know your type, because if your type is specific and you're trying to do non-specific or vice versa, it becomes a little more complicated, a little bit more difficult for you to bring in what you truly want.
And then how does it help you gain control over your life once you start to do these whole practices?
Yeah. So the biggest fear that most people have, right, is uncertainty, not knowing what is the future going to bring. And that uncomfortable feeling, right? Most people associate it with being unsafe because that's what fear is, like the check engine light in your body that's like, you know, impending doom. You're totally, you know, there's a cat that's going to come like claw your face off, but really I'm just really afraid. I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so it's really navigating and understanding that being uncomfortable is the only way to make today look, or I should say tomorrow, look drastically different than today. Mm-hmm. And the next day and the next day. So if you're okay with where your life is right now, keep doing it. But if you want something more, then you're going to have to learn how to overcome the fear, how to deal with being uncomfortable going into the unknown so that you create it. And that is the basis behind all these practices, is creating a life versus just living what most people feel like is handed to them, even though we're all creating no matter what it looks like.
Yeah. And I think you have to keep in mind too, even though, you know, you're creating something, things go wrong in life, things happen. And so it's just adjusting and staying on track. It's like, okay, this happened. Let me readjust back to my dream, my focus, my manifestation, and do that. But sometimes you get derailed and then you go down that rabbit hole and then you keep going deeper and it's harder to pull yourself back.
Yeah. But some of that is a good sign. Some of that is, here's the thing. You sit there and say, okay, let's take money, for example. Let's say somebody is like, all right, I make 6 figures a year. I want to make 7 figures a year. I'm ready, universe. I'm ready. Give it to me. And the universe is going to go, you're ready? Yeah, I'm ready. All right. Let's see how you handle this. And it's going to constantly be testing you to be like, you told me you were ready. So if you're ready, let's see how you navigate when things are, and it's like this preparation, right? To become the person who's available and ready to receive what you're asking for. So if you don't make it over those roadblocks, you're not ready. So look at it and just say, it's okay. Everything is happening for me. It is on purpose. It's difficult when you're in it, but then you just got to check yourself.
Yeah. I just tell the story real quick, Jen. So you talk about being ready. If this was before Airbnb existed, VRBO was just out, and I was going to rent my really extremely large house in Houston, and nothing was happening. It wasn't renting yet. And I'm thinking, when is it happening? Like, I'm ready, universe. And then I asked myself, well, if I had a renter today, is the house ready? And the answer was no. And so I went through and I made everything ready that if someone knocked on my door that day, they could come in, I could rent the house that day. And literally within 2 weeks after I got it ready, the renter came. So it's like, you have to be ready. And Jen and I ask ourselves that all the time in business. Are we ready to have 100 authors a month? what do we have to do to be ready? Let's get all the systems in place so we are ready for that success and that next level.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And the other part of that is you're like a vessel, right? So if you're asking for something more, the universe has got to take something away. You got to let go of something you don't need to make room for something more. So no matter what, it's so on purpose.
Okay, I'm going to jump in with one more story. Sorry, Jen. There's a story, and I did the same with my son. He wanted a new car, and I said, well, once you clean up your old car and get all ready to sell, then you'll be able to have a new car. Oh, Mom, that doesn't matter. I don't know. And it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening. And finally, when he did that, then it opened the door for the new car to come in until he got rid of the old car and cleaned it up and had it ready to sell. Then there was space for the new car to come in.
Absolutely. It's like fascinating to me when you sit here and you watch all the things that happen in your life and other people's lives. And you're like, in hindsight, like in the middle of it, you're like, I don't see it. But in hindsight, you're like, oh, I see what you did there.
I always tell, this is like the name of the book. I have the book, like, make your bed. Mine is Clean Out Your Garage. If ever I feel like I'm in the need of getting more income, I have to clean out my garage because it's like the clutter bin that everything gets dumped into. And every time you clean it out and you get rid of stuff, you're making room for more things in the universe and more income and more stuff when you clean out your own space.
Absolutely. It's
I
so
love
true.
that.
And energetically too, right?
Yeah.
Energetically too.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's end with, we've had a lot happen in the last year. So entrepreneurs listen to this podcast, and you say that there's 2 or 3 critical mindset shifts that will help an entrepreneur, that will help them propel their business for this year. So what are those 2 to 3 mindset shifts that we can do?
I think one of the biggest ones is kind of what I've already touched on. You're going to have to learn how to navigate the fear. That's a big one. And meditation is amazing for this, by the way, but I also think it's clarity. It's understanding what's going on. Your brain's 2 biggest functions are, number 1, keep you alive, and number 2, keep you safe. But when it's trying to keep you safe, it doesn't know the difference between I'm really unsafe and I'm uncomfortable. So when you get that flood of emotions, you have to learn to check in and not just be like, no, I can't do that. Because you will subconsciously talk yourself out of everything if you allow yourself to. You'll just stay exactly where you are and just be like, well, life's not getting any better. It's like, you're still doing the same thing you were doing like 2 years ago. Yeah. So if you bake a cake 30 times and you're like, why does my cake still taste like crap? And it's like, well, did you change the ingredients? No. Did you change the oven settings? No. Did you change anything? No, I just think it's going to get better. And it's like, you got the same crappy cake because you keep baking the same crappy way. So definitely understanding fear. Another thing I see is that you have to put yourself out there. I see so many people that are like, all right, I'm not building a 6 or 7 or however big business I really want. And they're all suited up. They're like, they've got their helmet on, they've got the pads on, like they're going to go play football, or maybe they want to play football, but they're really playing lacrosse. And they're like, I'm not good enough for football right now. Or they're padded up and they're just sitting on the bench. And you go, you got to play. You got to play. And by the way, you're playing the wrong sport. I thought you said you wanted to play football. And they're like, yeah, I'm getting to that. Yeah. Okay. So life happens today. Life does not happen 15 steps from now. What are you doing today? Get in the game. And this is also with that, right? Overcoming the fear. And then another thing I see people do is there is a lot of people are not working on their self-worth. They're not working on their self-worth. They're not working on their self-confidence. And they're not working on this idea that they were born worthy, nothing has changed. They are lovable because they exist, and they don't have to prove themselves to anybody but themselves. So when you're creating things, you're not creating it for other people. Yeah. This is a big thing marketing, I think, in the old paradigm kind of got wrong. You're here to create for yourself first. So if nobody shows up, are you making it for them or for you?
Mhm.
If you're making it for you, you become so magnetized because it's like, I don't care who's there. I'm so incredibly excited to do this thing. This is when you attract. When you're like, if nobody shows up, I guess I'm not going to do it. I guess I can't, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah. If you don't believe what you sell, nobody else will.
Mhm.
So it's working through we have a lot of conditioning, a lot of limiting beliefs. And so, I mean, I could name a billion of them, but those are some big ones.
Well, Wendy, tell people where they can go to find out more and where they can get more information on how to get this done for themselves.
Sure. So I actually just created I let go. This year I started all over again. I released my old Instagram account. So you can find me at my new one at I am Wendy Louise. My website, which has been getting redone, should be coming out next week, refreshed. So that's wendylouise.net.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for coming, Wendy. We really appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe for our podcast and share this with your friends because there's really, really great insight here and a lot of inspiration. So we want you to manifest the life that you're dreaming about. And then you can write about it and we'll publish the book. At Elite Online Publishing, we guarantee you'll be a #1 bestseller. We help all of our authors write, market, and publish their book. So you can go to our website and just put a submission form in there and see if we're a good fit for you. So we'll see you next time right here. Remember to subscribe to our podcast. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Hey, are you looking to increase your revenue, build credibility, and elevate your brand? This podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, an innovative publishing and full spectrum marketing company. They will publish and market your book to make it a #1 bestseller. Becoming an author is the best way to market your business. So contact them at eliteonlinepublishing.com today. All of their authors become #1 bestsellers.